Well, a warm good afternoon to everyone. I'm going to change my view here to gallery, perhaps, so I could see everyone. I like to see everybody rather than my own face, just my own face. It's great to see so many familiar faces. So many of you I know personally, and it's great to see you. Thank you so much for being here. And to those of you I don't know, I'm very happy to make your acquaintance because once you come on one of these calls with me, you're a friend after that. So we make lots of new friends on these calls. Brother Paul and I are honored that you have taken a part of your Saturday to be with us. And our gratitude goes out also to Pat Connolly, a wonderful oblate of Weston Priory in Vermont, who puts so much heart and soul into these Saturday gatherings so that people who are on a similar spiritual path can connect with one another. Thank you, Pat, for all that you do. As you may know, our book, How to Be, is based on letters Brother Paul and I exchanged over the years on matters both practical and spiritual. And we organized the letters around themes such as purpose and call, being and doing, prayer and meditation. And we were actually inspired to write each other in this way by the vast correspondence of the great Trappist monk and spirituality writer, Thomas Merton, who wrote some 20,000 letters to a wide variety of people over the course of his 53 years on Earth. It is said that he had some 2,000 people that he wrote to over the course of his lifetime. And Merton called this letter writing his apostolate of friendship, his apostolate of friendship. And our hope today is that you will see in our letters the narrative of your own lives through our struggles and our experiences, and perhaps be inspired to begin your own apostolate of friendship with a spiritual advisor or a trusted friend. I'm going to start by reading from the introduction to the book, a section called Seeding a Friendship. So this is from the introduction, Seeding a Friendship. The first time I climbed a tree, I was an adult. My climbing partner was a 69-year-old Trappist monk named Brother Paul Quenon. Brother Paul cheered me on as I lumbered haltingly up the limbs of a magnolia on the grounds of his abbey. Tree climbing wasn't the only challenge he gave me. He urged me to walk backwards occasionally to see a familiar place from a fresh perspective. He recommended that I stroll barefoot outside to regain the intelligence of my feet. From Brother Paul, I learned a new word for contemplation, that calm, recollected, prayerful interior that monks work years to attain, and many of us non-monks yearn to experience. He called contemplation just a big fat word for gratitude. Brother Paul entered the Abbey of Gethsemane at the age of 17 and has been there for more than 60 years. Men and women with that depth of monastic experience are now an endangered species. This book aims to preserve some of that wisdom before it fades forever. Why letters? Letters are the remnants we leave to mark important episodes in our lives. We hold on to letters like heirlooms. We introduce ourselves in letters, confide our hopes, confess our fears, offer our thanks, ask for forgiveness, and say goodbye in letters. Letters are like mini private diaries that we share. I first met Brother Paul in 2008 on a reporting assignment for PBS TV. The occasion was the 40th anniversary of the death of Thomas Merton, who had been Brother Paul's spiritual director. Little did I know that visit to Gethsemane would prove life-changing. I asked Brother Paul about the purpose of the Trappist life in the modern world, and I've never forgotten his response. He said, "The purpose of the monastic life in the modern world is to show You don't need a purpose. The purpose of life is life, he said. You're to live your life. It was a moment of liberating revelation for an overachieving, chronically stressed workaholic like me. I'll turn it over now to Brother Paul. Read an excerpt from a letter he wrote describing how letter writing became a special practice within his Trappist life.
Dear Judith, I am glad we agreed on a written correspondence as a suitable means of exchanging ideas. When Emily Dickinson wrote, "A letter is a joy of earth deprived of the gods," I think she was talking mostly of the joy of receiving a letter. But there is joy also in bringing pleasure to another person with the surprise visit of a letter. I write and receive many emails, and they can be a delight, but they are mainly messages. When I first entered the monastery at the age of 17, I learned to write real letters. The kind you sit and mull over. You could only write 2 letters a year, and you could only receive letters 4 times a year, on Christmas, Easter, and Feast of the Assumption and All Saints. So any letter received was cherished, even a boring one. Given those circumstances, I took each letter pretty seriously, or tried to. At one point, I got permission to write more than 2 letters. We were usually allowed to write at any one of those periods of time, because my siblings were scattered across several states. My brother Bob started calling my letters the epistles of St. Paul. That's when I slacked off on trying to be so evangelical or holy. Yours on the journey, Brother Paul.
Another theme that comes through in our letters is the struggle to find balance. Brother Paul's life follows the quiet rhythms of the monastery. My life is far more scattered and hectic. Brother Paul is always urging me to sit still and simply be. I felt particularly restless and struggled to find a proper rhythm after leaving my job in daily broadcast journalism to focus solely on my writing. So here are a few exchanges about finding the right balance from that period of time. Dear Brother Paul, we live in a world drenched in mystery and wonder, as you have often reminded me. I feel it viscerally, yet easily forget. I fill my days with whirls of activity, some of it necessary, much of it not. Sometimes dusk arrives, and I've engaged in so many distractions that I can't remember exactly how I spent my time. My precious day disintegrates into a blur, and I find myself flailing around, wasting time, unable to find a proper rhythm. 100 tiny allures add up at the end of the day to essentially nothing. In her poem, Long Life, Mary Oliver asks what it means that the earth is so beautiful, and what should we do about it? What is the gift we should bring to the world? What is the life we should live? These are the questions I'm asking myself as I enter this next chapter of my writing life, jettisoned from the secure way station of my long career in journalism into a new universe, feeling somewhat as though I'm walking in space without a tether. Warmly, despite our current frigid temperatures, Judith.
Dear Judith, indeed, a good way of getting over the feeling that you're wasting your time is to go out and waste more of it. Waste it intentionally. Take a walk in the neighborhood and see the trees. Notice how people are keeping their yards. Smell the air. Get free of what seems urgent and necessary. Get away from the feeling that the world will crumble without you. Yesterday brought me a free gift, a long, gentle rain. I perched on my broad, deep windowsill, propped up my feet, leaned on the lintel, and watched the rain drop freely. I could have ignored the rain, but took it as a gift of the moment. Last night, a uniform mother of pearl white illuminated the fields, the sky, and the gauzy atmosphere under a full moon hidden by clouds. To see a sight like that is rare. You must be there. Like you, I too go through fallow periods in my writing and feel no anxiety about it. Like the farm fields that need time in which nothing seems to happen. But below ground, the microbes, insects, and millions of bacteria that make good soil are at work. Out of sight, out of mind. The heart works and the imagination ferments. By your patience, you will win your soul. Brother Paul.